People in the documentary say, yeah, they had sex. It was just really fast. And I'm like, there's no freaking way that happened. The boogeyman is coming. All right.
Leave me alone.
All right. Here we go. Halloween 1 and Halloween 2, everybody. And I have pages and pages of notes. I've ended the theme music. I'm Kurt Boyd, actor, sometime journalist, all the time pain in the ass, and and Christopher Brian Gomez. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello there. My name is Christopher Brian Gomez. You can call me Christopher, or you can call me Mr. Chris, or you can call me Gomez. Either one, it doesn't really matter. But yes, same thing. Actor, sometimes journalist, minus the pain in the ass. Well, maybe the pain in the ass. Yeah, behavioral therapist by day, moonlighting as an actor by night, and tour guide and journalist on the weekends.
All right. I'll call you Chris, Gomez, Brian, all those things at some point through this. All right, so let's just get right into it. All right, Halloween. Do you know the exact release date? Halloween came out in 1978.
Yes, and the reason why it's so easy for me to remember is because it falls on my brother's birthday.
Oh,
It came out October 25th, 1978. Um, but actually, what had happened was they had released the movie to just a few theaters, I believe, in the Midwest, a few like regional areas. So it didn't really go nationwide, or at least not how we conceive nationwide being in our uh, present time. So what they had done is they played it in a few theaters, and then it kind of like slowly rolled out. And I believe a year later, that's when the movie had garnered much more attention, just by word of mouth. It's not like today where there's we have the internet, and there's news outlets that can do early reviews and of early screenings. It wasn't anything like that. This was the 70s, so when you heard a movie was coming out, you had to wait for it. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, this was okay. This was a okay. I was wondering about this today. I think I already know the answer. I know you know the answer. Uh, was this was SAG, right? This was not non-union. I know it was low budget, but they were SAG, correct? Or do you know?
I Yes, I believe it was SAG because obviously the name talent on there was Donald Pleasance.
Right. He
So
couldn't have
he,
done non-union. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think he would have done non-union. And they, and famously they had approached other English horror actors to play that role. They first approached Christopher Lee. Then they approached Peter Cushing. Actually, Peter Cushing was the first one that they approached, and he turned them down flat. They did approach Christopher Lee to play Loomis, and he turned them down. But then years later, he ran into John Carpenter and Deborah Hill at the after party for Escape from New York, and he personally told them that he regretted not doing Halloween. And there's a wonderful movie called Raw Meat, starring Christopher Lee and Donald Pleasance, which you should check out because there's a very subtle banter between the two of them, kind of like a battle of wits, where they're just pretty much verbally egging each other on, but it's so subtle and stoic, and what's the word I'm looking for? Very calm, cool, and collected insults that they say to each other. But yeah, they both play detectives that are, on the same case that they're trying to solve. So they had worked together before, but yeah, I'm going on a rant about the English actors. But yeah, Donald Pleasance was obviously they got Donald Pleasance to do it. He was the name actor to be able to sell their movie.
Yeah, he was top billing in the credits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for a long time, he was top billing for the sequels up until part 6. I believe he got his name right before the title of the movie. Uh,
Oh,
yeah. So a lot of the later sequels that you would see, 4, 5, and 6, a lot of those would start off with, Mustafa Akkad presents, Donald Pleasance in, Halloween, whichever one. So yeah, he was the common thread of those earlier movies. He was the name to sell those movies. Jamie Lee Curtis had done some TV shows. I believe
right.
I believe she had done an episode of The Love Boat, and she
Think
was
she wasn't she like a waitress on Starsky and Hutch on an episode? It was like one of those shows.
yeah.
Yeah,
She had done a lot of like walk-on roles in a
yeah,
lot of like episodic television that was,
right.
shot at Universal Studios. I think she was
Yeah,
on Operation Petticoat. Obviously, The Love Boat. So she had done some work, but she wasn't like, a breakout lead in
right.
anything.
She wasn't what she is today, obviously.
Right. The only other one is PJ Souls. She had done
Yeah,
Carrie a few years
yeah,
before Halloween.
yeah.
And I think Rock and Roll High School came out after Halloween. I stand to be corrected.
I think you're right, though. I think it did. I've only seen that once or twice, but I think it came out. Oh God, I have like such a useless trivia thing going in my. I think it came out like a year after Halloween. I think it came out like in '79.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Oh
And then
wow. Yeah.
the original actress that they wanted for Laurie Strode was, I believe, Anne Lockhart, who was the daughter of June Lockhart from Lassie.
Oh wow.
And so
Didn't know that.
I'm sure that it was, to a certain extent, I'm sure that it was a union independent film.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had to get
Okay.
some SAG actors.
Well, all right. So
I hope that answers your question.
no, no, you did answer my question. Okay, so we have the opening credits. We come out. We've got this steady cam shot. This was a very, very ambitious thing for a low budget movie, a steady cam.
Correct.
This opening scene, one shot, 4 minutes, never a cut, ever. I took out my stopwatch and timed it when I rewatched it. So
Hmm.
we have okay, so we have Michael's walking toward the house.
Hmm.
He comes up to the house. He looks in the window. Judith and her boyfriend are making out on the couch. But Michael's around somewhere, blah blah blah. Anyway, they
Yeah.
decide to go upstairs. They go they go upstairs. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're about to have another discussion. All right.
For the
They
quickest
listen, I timed
intimate.
this on a stopwatch. There's no fucking way anybody had sex in 1 minute and 5 seconds.
That's not humanly possible.
That is not humanly possible. That's
Yeah.
not even possible for a rabbit. Good God. All right, so I timed it. I even gave them a 5 second grace period to get their clothes off. So, okay, and I have my own theory. I always thought when I watched this, but anyway, I'm going to let him. Okay, so Michael comes around, he goes in the kitchen. It's really Deborah Hill's hand. We see reach in the door, get the knife.
Correct.
He comes around, he sees the boyfriend come downstairs. Okay, so the boyfriend's putting his shirt back on as he comes down the stairs. My understanding before everybody on the internet was saying that they went upstairs and had sex, people in the documentary say, yeah, they had sex. It was just really fast. And I'm like, there's no freaking way that happened. So what I always thought before everybody else got their opinions in my head, I thought
Uh,
they probably just went upstairs, made out. They probably took their tops off. Well, obviously they did because she's naked when Michael goes up there later. But she probably did something like, "Oh, we better not. My parents might come home. Oh God, no! I changed my mind. Let's not do this." And because when he walks downstairs and before he walks out the door, he turns and he looks like he's pissed off or aggravated about something. And I'm like, he didn't get any, so that's what he's upset about, right?
that's funny that you mentioned that, because I took it the same way, but the other way around, where I felt like he was the one to call it off. Like, and I'm going through theories of like,
Maybe.
maybe premature ejaculation, or
Well, they were making out hot and heavy on the couch when Michael looked
yeah.
in the window and, when you're
Or
getting
maybe he
your
couldn't get it
visits
up
to
and he was too
happen faster.
embarrassed, and yeah,
Yeah, something happened. I don't think
something happened.
in
Yeah,
my mind, they didn't do anything. But he was just, in my mind, he's looking up, he's aggravated. She changed her mind. He's being the typical man and he didn't get what he wanted, so he's leaving. That's how I look at it. But
yeah. But the
I
the
don't
thing
know.
to remember though is that she was more unclothed than he was.
He was only putting his shirt on when he came
Right.
down
So
the door.
that's what makes me think that maybe she was the one to initiate it. And I don't know. But see, when they're in the living room, he kind of looks like he's initiating it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the last thing she ever does. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Michael goes upstairs, kills Judith. Then he comes downstairs, runs out of the house. The parents just stand there with their hands in their pockets. It's
Uh-huh.
like your kid standing there in front of the house with a bloody knife, and they're just like, Michael. And then,
Yeah.
yeah,
That
there's
was an
not much
artistic choice,
reaction.
actually. The reason for that was they were trying to create what they call in theater a tableau. So it's kind of it was an artsy way of ending a scene. It wasn't meant to be too realistic. It was more of an artistic choice to end on a tableau of like it was supposed to almost be like a freeze frame in a way.
Kind of like a button up, like sometimes they call it, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But it is, I mean, like, when you watch it now and in today's context, it is kind of odd, especially coming from the mother, because father at least looks somewhat concerned. The mother is just like, her jaws agape and she's just putting her hands in her pocket, like, oh, not again.
I think what it is, it's the body. When somebody puts their hands in their pockets,
That's what it is.
that's what it is. I think that's
That's
what
what
it
it
is
is.
because you
Mhm.
they don't it's like you're just like la ti da. I don't know, whatever. Whenever you put your hand in your pockets, but
Yeah.
all right. So Smith's Grove, 15
Yes.
years later, Loomis and Marion, Nurse Marion, are driving to the asylum to pick up Michael to take him to court for his hearing. She's chain smoking cigarettes. Parliaments, because they do a little shot. She's got a
Mhm.
pack of Parliaments in her matchbook that has Rabbit and Red Lounge on it,
Yeah.
and and she, um, Loomis is he's got things on his mind because he's getting a little aggravated with all her chit chat.
Yeah.
He knows what they're dealing with. She doesn't know, and I think he's nervous about transporting Michael.
Yeah. I think he just wants to get the hell out of there. He just wants to get the job done and over with. All right, let's get him out of the hospital. Let's take him where he needs to go and just call it a day. The faster we get this done, the better.
Yeah, we have to give him that Thursday so he'll barely be able to sit up and
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so they pull up. There are people want the patients are wandering out in the yard. You see
Mhm.
white robes in the dark rain, and it's like, why didn't Michael just kill everybody? Why was he out there wandering around with them? Was somebody sneaking him snacks or cigarettes? Why didn't he just kill everybody then? I don't. He's
Well, I mean, there's a couple of theories to that. Obviously, if you're going within the canon of some of the sequels, it was revealed in the sixth movie, spoiler alert, that one of the head doctors was in on the whole thing. Yeah, Dr. Wynn, who was in charge of the facility, he's the gentleman that's arguing with Loomis that tells him, for God's sakes, he doesn't even know how to drive a car. Well, and then Loomis replies, "Well, he was doing very well last night. Maybe somebody around here gave him lessons."
and we find out in part
And
six
then
they
and then
were
we
giving
find
him
out
one.
that in part six that he was basically kind of, giving him orders. Yeah, he was kind of like the mastermind behind the whole thing. So there's that, and I think the other reason is just to kind of throw off people. He's very selective. If we're not going by that canon, I think at this point, people that worked at that hospital only viewed Michael as non-threatening, and so I think if he were to kill one of the patients or any of the staff members, there would have been an immediate response of the authorities to search for him. But because he didn't harm anybody, there was really no urgency to look for him. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, that makes no. I get it. Um,
They probably
so
figured, oh, we'll just find him wandering down the road the next day, and we'll go and pick him up. So because he didn't harm anybody, I think there wasn't that urgency to really look for him.
Loomis goes up to the gate. We see Michael in the rearview mirror jump on top of the car from Marion's point of view.
Uh-huh.
Then he starts terrorizing her, drives her out of the car, gets in the car, drives away, leaves her there in the rain. And
Which, by the way, I don't know if you were you able to see the wrench that he has in the palm of his hand.
You know what? This last time I did, the first time I saw somebody say that they used a wrench to break the glass on the
Yep.
on the passenger side window. I did
Yeah.
notice it, but
Uh-huh.
then I stopped noticing it because I didn't think about it anymore. But after somebody pointed it out, I did
Yeah.
notice it the next couple of times I watched the movie. So
Yeah, and
God, I've
like
seen the
back in the
movie so many
70s,
times.
nobody was thinking that, oh, there's going to be high definition 4K
Yeah,
ultimate editions where you can see every grain of the frame, every nook and cranny. You could see, yeah, if you watch like remastered editions of this movie, you can see that he's clearly holding a wrench in the palm of his hand to use as an effect to break the glass window. Back then, with all the graininess of film, it doesn't pop as much.
no, and like a lot of people who didn't see this on in the theater watched it on an analog TV, and
Right.
you
Or
can see things on
VHS.
HD that you could never have seen on an
Yeah.
analog type TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go with the Blumhouse David Gordon Green sequels 2018, 2021, 2022,
Uh-huh.
this is the last time we see Marion. We see her again in part two, but if that doesn't, okay, whatever. I'm not going to get all
Yeah.
convoluted with that. But yeah, this is her trauma that she carries into the Blumhouse sequels, which is kind of
Yeah.
weird. But
I have a friend that has some nitpicks about the that trilogy. He
oh,
affectionately calls it the David Gordon gangrene trilogy because he gets so frustrated by all the missed opportunities that trilogy has, because he's a fan of part two, and I think it bothered him that with the way how the town was reacting in that trilogy, that they didn't acknowledge part two, and it really
yeah,
doesn't justify the town's reaction
right.
if they're only acknowledging the first movie.
He did horrible things in the first movie, but
Right.
he made it so much worse in part two, and
Yeah.
it's almost like all the trauma in Halloween 2018 or H40 as I affectionately call it. I didn't like that part two was left out, but
Yeah.
I did like that they eliminated the brother sister thing. I did not like the brother sister thing for them,
Yeah,
and I'm about to
it's such a
explain why.
double-edged sword with that. Yeah, because I like it's a bold move, and I'm always curious to see what new things they can try to do with it. So like I appreciated that they did away with the whole brother sister thing. I felt like they still should have acknowledged part two. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming, but maybe say in the sequel that, oh, we made a mistake. They're not related. He thinks that they're something. Something that I used as a frame of reference, something that's actually a true story, is I grew up in a town called Chino, and back in the 80s, it was a much less developed town than what it is now. And when we first moved here in 86, most of the town was just cornfields and dairy farms and a prison. And a few years prior to when we had moved, there was a family that was murdered by um, what we assume was an escaped prisoner from one of the nearby prisons.
Oh,
He had killed the entire family, including a little boy that was staying the night. There was one survivor, which was the son of the family, but um, they brought someone into custody, and there's debate of whether or not he was the one responsible. But the point is that we had a heinous crime that happened in a small town, and if something if there is some sort of connective tissue to that crime that were to resurface many years later in this town, I don't think this town would have reacted the same way that the people do in these films. So that was my point of reference of why
Yeah.
I don't feel that the town's reaction, especially in Halloween Kills, is not, it doesn't make much sense if he only killed 5 people in the first, if they're only acknowledging the first movie. Now, if you acknowledge part two, that's a whole different beast, because then it almost becomes like a classic universal monster where
Yeah.
the town wants is out for blood, and they're going to get their pitchforks and torches ready to hunt down the monster. And yeah,
Yeah.
and like I would have been fine with that too, but
I'm I think part two is a solid sequel up to the point where she starts having the flashbacks and oh my God, Michael's her brother. He drives away, leaves them in the rain, takes the
mhm.
car, goes to Haddonfield. Lori comes out. Her dad, okay, this is where I'm just like, okay, her dad reminds her to drop off the key at the Myers house. Lori lived as the Myers until she was 4 years old. So she lived in that house until she was 4 years old. Her dad, who's the realtor, sends her there to drop off the key. Why the hell would you send your kid you adopted that you had a closed adoption for because Marion tells Loomis in the car in part two it was a closed adoption. The Strodes did not want her to know about it. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna send her to drop a key off at the house where her brother murdered her sister. And there might be some residual, I don't know, 4 year old trauma or 2 year, I don't know.
yeah.
She's got
I
to have some memory. Oh my God. That's where it's like, okay, this whole brother sister thing's bullshit. Why did they even do
Yeah,
that?
I try to rationalize it, but even when I try to rationalize it, it's still a little bit flimsy, because my impression of it was that she she did remember up until when she was 4 or 5 years old, and I think her parents were forcing her to forget, or were hoping that she would forget.
Yeah.
This was the 70s, so like there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about you know mental trauma. So I think that her parents were just kind of hoping that she would forget. But it's so weird because I think the movie could have worked without those flashbacks. That
Oh God, I hate those flashbacks. That's
uh,
just like when they start losing me with that. I was just like, oh,
I mean, and I get what they're trying to say, that like suppressed memories are starting to resurface. And
yeah,
but you have to remember too that the whole brother sister thing was kind of an afterthought, because John Carpenter had kind of written himself into a hole.
yeah.
When he was, I don't know if you know the story, but he was up late one night writing Halloween 2, and he was drinking a 6 pack of beer and had a massive case of writer's block. He felt like he was writing the same movie again, and he was trying desperately to come up with like some sort of twist or a hook to at least give the movie a little bit more spice. So, I guess he was drunk one evening and he came up with the whole brother sister thing
Oh man,
as
he
a way to
should.
spice it up. And, the series, they since then have ran with that.
Where's Lori when Michael kills Judith? Is she in the house somewhere? If Michael's around, it's not like they gave her or sent her to a babysitter. And in the Rob Zombie movie, she is in the house when it happens.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can look at it this way. She was either a baby sleeping in the next room, or she Lori and Michael were being babysat by Mrs. Blankenship across the street, which is revealed in part 6 that
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was watching him that night. Um, which it is also kind of contradicts some things about the first movie because Judith says that, oh, well, Michael's around someplace. So obviously he was walking around the house. He wasn't being babysat. So it's a
Right.
whole mess.
It's a conundrum. And I don't think they thought we would be sitting here 45 years later picking it apart either.
Over analyzing it. Yeah.
Yeah, she drops the key off at the Myers house. Tommy shows up, Laurie, and then we see the palm trees when they walk across the street. The
Yeah.
palm trees that are still there, by the
They're
way.
still there. I always point them out on my walking
I
tour.
You absolutely do. Oh, and go ahead, tell people really quickly about the Sugarman Gallery and your walking tours.
Yes, yes. So first of all, the Sugarman Gallery is this really cute venue that's right behind the Michael Myers house in South Pasadena. It's primarily an art gallery. The woman that runs it, her name is Sarah Rose. She first opened it in 2015, and they have usually in October they'll have a lot of original artists come up with just fan inspired works of art that are related to the Halloween series. And in another room, they have an area where they have props from some of the movies on display. They have behind the scenes photos of when they shot the first two movies. There is a scare B&B in an adjacent room inside the gallery, so guests can stay the night inside the Sugarman Gallery behind the Michael Myers house. They do backyard movie nights
Yeah.
in the backyard, so you have like the Myers house kind of looming over while you're watching one of those movies.
That is such a gift to still have that house, have the movies there. You're like, why? I saw one picture where they were projecting Halloween. Were they on the screen, like onto the house? Am I right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yes and no. There were a few times where they would screen the first two movies in the backyard. There was one year on Halloween where they were projecting the movie on the side of the house, but then they stopped doing that. I think, just for, you know, uh, I think it was for legal reasons they couldn't show the first movie.
I think I saw a picture. There was like a photo. Somebody took a photo or something. I saw some.
Yeah, yeah. And then one of the houses in the town was projecting the original movie on their garage. Um, but yeah, going back to the Sugarman Gallery, in addition to Halloween throughout the year, they'll have different exhibits that are dedicated to some genre IP. For example, there was one month where they did an art show, an art gallery dedicated to David Lynch and Twin Peaks.
Oh my God, I would have
Yeah,
loved that.
another one that was dedicated to the Universal monsters. There was another one that was dedicated to Over the Garden Wall. Another one that was dedicated to Hocus Pocus. And in fact, Sarah Rose is very good friends with one of the production artists. I'm butchering the title, who created a lot of the concept art and the storyboards for Hocus Pocus. So some of his stuff is also on display at the Sugarman Gallery. And a lot of the fan art is for sale. It's done by some really talented artists that
Oh
are
yeah.
selling
Yeah,
their work. Yeah,
I can second that. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, and like what's cool about it is that a lot of the stuff that they sell there, you can't buy. They're not mass produced. You can only get them there. So whether it's like stickers or T-shirts of some of that artwork or the Sugarman logo, you can't find that at a like a Spirit Halloween store or Walmart or Hot Topic or anything like that. But yeah, so I had known Sarah since she first opened that gallery in 2015, and a few years ago, she had reached out, uh, asking, hey, would you want to conduct these walking tours? I was thinking about, maybe having you do some walking tours around the areas where they film these movies, because you're like one of the most knowledgeable people I know, and like I already know you. There's a good rapport, and I said, yeah, yeah, I would love to do it. And one of the things that I got to reiterate too is that a lot of the visitors that come to South Pasadena, they usually just go to the Myers house or Laurie's house. Like those are the two
Yeah.
houses that are mostly known. And what
That's
a
the
lot of
first
people
time I did. Yeah.
yeah, and what a lot of people don't realize is that other parts of the movie were also filmed in South Pasadena. A lot of part two was also filmed in South Pasadena, and some of Rob Zombie's was also filmed in South Pasadena. So
Mhm.
what I do on the tour is I take guests to um, all of the sites that I mentioned, minus a few that are a little bit out of the way. I cover the majority of the filming locations from part one, part two, and a little bit of Rob Zombies. And it's amazing because like the guests are just like blown away with the information. Sometimes I give them the history of the actual location itself. So like I'll show them where the Myers house once stood, and then like I'll go into the history of that house. I'll go into the history of when they actually shot that house or shot those scenes at the house. I'll make it a little interactive for them. Like I'll ask for like volunteers for certain things, um, I'll tell like behind the scenes stories and do a little bit of like a Donald Pleasance impression, just to kind of make it fun, a little more interactive. And um, the dynamic between the size of the groups of those tours is so interesting because I've had tours as small as one or two people. And those are fun because it makes the tour much more personal. It makes it much more conversational, and it almost feels like you're geeking out with a friend. And so there's something very, I don't know, I guess you could say cozy about that. With a bigger tour, like I've had as big as like up to 15, 17 people on a tour. I have to really keep my energy up for those. My diaphragm to really project and make sure everybody
Yeah.
hears me. Those are tough, but they're also fun. And what's interesting is there's a lot of things that I throw a lot of trivia questions that fans don't know, and it's amazing that they like in a good way they get so blown away by the information that I throw at them. And they're very appreciative. I've had visitors come from like all parts of the world. I think the furthest that I've ever had as I had a couple come from Australia, and I had another couple come from Brazil just
Oh,
to
wow.
take the walking tour and have them go through like all these places. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it because like I'll have like guests that they come all decked out with like Halloween shirts, so kind of like this one that I'm wearing right now. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and like I'll throw them questions like, what was the name of the boy that Laurie had a crush on in the first movie? And then like they get like their mind goes blank. It's like, oh my gosh, I should have watched the movie before coming on here. I watch those movies all the time. How do I not know this? And but like it's all in good fun. Like, I play along with that too, and I give them a moment to think about it. Like I'll have them like take a stab at a few guesses.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'll make a little segue here. When Tommy and Lori walk up to the house, and even
Mhm.
when she walks away after she drops the key off, well, that is the first time we see Michael. We know he's in the house. But
Mhm.
yeah, Tommy's talking about, let's make a jack-o'-lantern. Oh my God, you can't go up there and drop the key off. So and so says it's a Richie, so and so says it's haunted. She says Richie so and so probably won't get out of the sixth grade. And then okay, I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way to say this. I thought that stretch of the street
Uh-huh.
looks more homey and better back then than it does now. They have like that big condo building there now where the house used to be. And it's just,
Yeah.
there's something very, not that, well, obviously it's not the same, but it just doesn't, it looks like a more, I don't know, it looks like a more homey neighborhood back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And
There's
would,
no
okay,
lawns.
and speaking of the house, here's
Uh-huh.
something I'm sure you know that I do absolutely do not know. Okay, they fixed it up for the movie. Well, they had to fix it up at the end because the first scene that we see with, the steady cam, 1963, they shot that last because they had to like repaint the house and they
Mhm.
patched up whatever they were was going to be on camera.
Yeah.
And was anybody in the house itself? I believe it was 1987 before they moved it to its current location. And then they tore down
Yeah.
all the other houses around it, and they happened to save this one because somebody wanted to save it. Uh, did anybody ever live in that house around the time before, or obviously before, but I'm after the movie up until it got, moved to the other location? Do you know?
No, it was, I mean, if there's any information that contradicts this, yeah, I stand to be corrected, but to my knowledge, it was abandoned. It was abandoned when they were filming it, and it had been abandoned since filming. I usually try to save this for the tours because some of this information is part of the tour.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, if there are
yeah.
any spoilers, yeah, just let me know and I won't
I mean, I
forget
don't mind
to.
talking about the house. It's just like I do want to you know, for anybody that's watching and decides to take the tour, I do want to give them their money's worth.
Yeah, go la
But
la
yeah,
la
no,
la.
I'm
Yeah.
but they did move the house in 1988, and at that time,
88.
it
Okay.
was abandoned. All of the houses on that block were being torn down, and I will go as far as to say the reason that they were torn down is there were plans to extend the 710 freeway, and they were going to have it go through South Pasadena.
Ooh.
And at one point, they were even thinking about having it go underground, under South Pasadena. And those freeway plans never came to fruition, but they had already knocked down the houses on that street. And the last house that was standing was the Myers house. It was going to be demolished, and then they saved it.
Whenever you see people talking about that online, they don't never mention the freeway thing.
You
So
see,
that's interesting. I didn't know
that's why
that.
they should take the tour.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because you're like an encyclopedia. I'm seriously. Um,
There are two gentlemen that I want to give credit to in regards to, and they're much more of Halloween encyclopedias than I am. These two individuals were kind of an inspiration to me, before conducting the tour and while I was prepping to do the tour. One of them is Daniel Ferens. He wrote Halloween 6, and by all accounts, from everyone in the cast, his script was radically different from what they ended up shooting, even in the producer's cut of Halloween 6. And but he's a walking encyclopedia of all things Halloween. Another person that was a huge inspiration was Sean Clark. He's and I apologize in advance if I butcher his official title, but he is, I believe, an agent for a lot of the actors from the Halloween series to do public appearances at conventions and whatnot. And he also did a column in, was it Rue Morgue or Horror Hound? It was one of those two, where it was called Horror's Hallowed Grounds. And he would explore areas of where they filmed classic horror movies, and would use a screenshot from the movie and take a picture of what the location currently looks like. And he had done some extras on DVDs for some of the Halloween movies. So watching some of his stuff growing up was a huge help. In fact, his segment on the locations were for Halloween 2 were a huge help to me in locating the Elrod house from part 2. If it wasn't for watching that documentary, I probably would have not had any idea that that's where the house, Mr. Elrod's house, was. But yeah, those two individuals were very influential in my knowledge of all things Halloween, because they kind of repeat what they did in the original movie, where they do a shot from Michael's point of view in the alley, and there's actually quite a few cuts. So, but it's so seamless that it's well executed. It seems like it's seamless, that it's all one take.
and there were some things you schooled me on the tour because I think had I been in that alley, I think that might have I think that's the first time I was ever in that alley. but it's so recognizable because if you've seen Halloween 2, I mean, God, the German Shepherd barking, and then he looks down the
Yeah.
alley, and then Dr. Loomis, I shot him 6 times, that
And
whole
there's
thing.
a real German Shepherd on the tour in that alley. Oh, I don't
Oh,
know if the German Shepherd was there when you took the tour.
it wasn't. I didn't see a German Shepherd
Oh
when I
yeah.
took the
Every
tour.
time I take people through the alley, there's always a German Shepherd barking at us.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, that
from
would
the
have been
same
so
house.
cool to be. Usually I get
Yeah.
scared when German Shepherds bark. I would have loved it that day though.
Yeah. I always tell people that he's like the paid actor on the tour.
Oh my goodness. All right. Okay.
Sorry,
So
I'm like rambling on and
no,
on.
no, no. That's okay. I had like this thing I was gonna do, and I think it's working better this way though. So, all right. So, okay. Where was I? Okay. Oh, okay. Loomis goes to Smith Grove. We've already talked. He talks to Dr. Wynn, who's played by a different actor in this movie, Mitchell
Mhm.
Ryan, one of my favorite obscure actors out there. He played Greg's dad on Dharma and Greg. He plays
Yeah.
Dr. Wynn in part 6. He was on the
Yes.
old Dark Shadows show. He was Burke Devlin on Dark Shadows. The one who played Dr. Wynn in part 6, Mitchell Ryan.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
got fired from Dark Shadows because he had an alcohol problem.
Oh
And
man.
but he got sober and he had an incredible career in movies and TV after that. He
Yeah.
got fired from a daytime soap opera for, not he didn't show up to work. One he
Mhm.
would show up to work either hungover or he just wouldn't show up at all. And there was this one episode he didn't show up, he got fired, blah blah blah. But anyway, always loved the guy. He
Yeah.
he just was an incredible success story after he got his life
Yeah.
together.
But
And
hey, yeah, yeah, good for him
yeah,
for doing the work
yeah,
to better himself. Like that's
yeah.
very extremely commendable. And I love hearing stories about that where people make any sort of attempt to try to be better versions of themselves.
Oh yeah, of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I remember him. He was the bad guy in Lethal Weapon, and I remember him having a bit part in a remake of Mice and Men. With it was I think it was like a TV remake of Mice and Men. He had a small part in that.
Was that the Gary Sinise version?
No, it was before the Gary Sinise
Oh,
version. This
before
one
that.
this one had Randy Quaid and Robert Blake. Randy Quaid
Oh,
played Lenny, and Beretta played George.
okay.
Yeah.
He was in oh God, I want to say Magnum Force. It was one of the Dirty Harry movies.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like somewhere between it was like after Dark Shadows, after he got everything going for himself. But
yeah.
yeah,
And he's good. He's good. Everyone in the cast is good in part six. That's one of the highlights of that film is was the ensemble cast that they collected. One of the things I liked about the cast of part six was that it wasn't a bunch of dumb teenagers. A lot of the cast were seasoned veterans, much older adults that were treating the material seriously. So it kind of elevated the film in a weird way. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, going
Speaking
back to
of
oh, go
dumb
ahead.
teenagers, okay, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
we get to Annie and Lori and Linda walking home from school.
Worst friends ever.
They're like the bad girls, and
Yeah,
Lori's like this little. She's more into
yeah.
academics and not into all the other stuff that they're into.
Unless
Um,
they see her, unless they see Lori as a project to
maybe,
try to get her assimilated to be like them.
may well, yeah, maybe so. But what's so interesting about that is Jamie Lee Curtis was the only one of them that was really a teenager in real life when they filmed that.
Yeah, because I think Annie was like in her late 20s when
She was almost
she was
30.
almost 30. Yeah,
Yeah, and then PJ Souls was like late 20s too. She was like married to
yeah.
Dennis Quaid at the
At the
time.
time, yeah.
Yeah,
Which is
and
funny because in the Rob Zombie remake, Annie, who is played by Daniel Harris, she was 30 when she played that part, but she doesn't look it at all.
right. Oh God, I never realized that. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah, because Danielle Harris had been around a long time already when
Yeah.
the Rob Zombie reboot came along. Yeah. Okay, so somebody was saying to me, now I don't like to say bad acting, but somebody was saying that they thought Nancy Loomis was a bad actress, and I don't agree with that. I Here's the thing. I don't like to say somebody's a bad actor.
Mhm.
The way I always look at it is, do I believe this? Do I believe what I'm watching? Do I believe this is really that person? She always I always bought her as a teenager. I didn't
Yeah.
realize until later how much older she really was. So I don't think it was bad at all. I don't know. I guess that's always subjective anyway. And I have to say, PJ Souls, for somebody who was probably, I don't know, 10 years out of high school by that point, I don't, maybe you know this. I don't know if she ad libbed all those totalies or if that was already in the script or how that went, but she captured the whole teenage girl thing really well for somebody who was already past that in real life.
That's a really good question because that's one of the very few questions that even I don't know. I do know that there was a lot of ad-libbing in the original Halloween.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that she could have added all those totalies as like a character quirk that she came up with. Um, of the things that I do know that they did ad lib, the scene in Annie's car where they're talking about who they're taking to the homecoming dance, the whole Ben Tramer,
Oh,
all of that was improvised. Um, Lori's song after she drops off the keys at the Myers house, the song that I wish I had you all alone.
she made that up. That was
She
never a
made
real
that
song.
up. Yeah, that was
Okay.
all improvised. Um, and then, of course, John Carpenter wrote most of Dr. Loomis's lines, and then Deborah Hill wrote all of the dialogue for the girls.
Oh,
Uh,
that's right. I remember reading that.
yeah, going back to what you said about Nancy Loomis as Annie, I to try to justify that, I think she may have been directed that way to be more cynical, like she was the most cynical of the friends because her
But
dad's a cop.
they all had their individual personalities. I totally
Right.
bought it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't think I didn't think any of them were bad. I totally bought all of them as
Totally.
three teenage girls. And yeah, you're right. They all had their individual little quirks and nuances and personality traits. So I thought they breathed real life into those
Yeah.
characters.
Which helps when they get dispatched because you want to have something that the audience can connect to because then you do fear for those characters when they are in danger.
When she's getting like strangled in the car before he slashes her throat, I'm like, oh my. And
Yeah.
anyway, let's skip ahead and talk about Annie's death scene.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
when I was like writing my notes, this is what I had a problem with. Okay, I know. Okay, it was a low budget movie. A lot of their money went toward that steady cam shot. And then the rest of it went to Donald
Yeah.
Pleasance's pay. Yeah, that was a big chunk of the budget right there.
Oh, for
There
sure.
wasn't much left. Did they not have anything in their budget for fake blood the day that they shot Annie's death scene? Because he slashes her throat in the car. There's no
Yeah.
slash. There's no blood. She just like collapses onto the steering wheel. And then
Yeah.
when we see her when Lori finds the bodies later, we see her on the bed with a slash across her throat. I'm like, oh, I guess that's what he did, but you don't see
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I think they were trying to obscure they were trying to obscure with the camera angle because they probably didn't know how to achieve that effect with the limited resources that they had. It's a combination of two reasons. One, obviously Carpenter was influenced by Hitchcock and the approach of suggestion, the theater of the mind. So
Theater of the mind, like the
yeah,
shower scene in Psycho. You see things that you don't really see.
right. There was an interview with John Carpenter. I think it was in an issue of Cine Fantastique where he said something to the effect of, you know, you don't have to show all the details of the knife going into the person because you already know what a knife does. You already know what the
Yeah,
result is, so you don't have to show it. Whereas like some deaths are much more intricate and do require that you show it if it's part of the story. Um, it was a combination of both. Carpenter was influenced by Hitchcock, and also because they were low budget, they didn't have a whole lot of you know makeup effects. They didn't have the know-how. They did,
right.
people like Tom Savini didn't come into the scene, until a couple of years later when they did, Dawn of the Dead. And yeah, this was like a small crew of their buddies from like USC that were getting together. They got lucky. They, were lucky enough to find the talent to make this movie. And people don't realize that how cheap that mask was. Now it's like, yeah, I mean, if you want to get something that's like screen accurate, it's like close to like $500 just to, get something
Yeah,
that accurate. Um,
they took a they took a Captain Kirk mask and turned it
mhm,
into a Michael Myers mask. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And originally it was going to be an Emmett Kelly clown mask for Michael Myers, and then they decided to go with the Shatner mask because it just
It
registered more.
That clown mask, I don't think we would be talking about Michael Myers today, or he would just be mixed in with all the other slasher people if they
Yeah,
were done a clown mask.
I think by doing a clown mask, it's too on the nose.
Yeah,
There's nothing as interesting as ironic as it is that it's a plain expressionless face
there's just like this void, like there's nothing there whenever
Mhm.
you look at it.
The
Uh,
two holes in a expressionless face.
okay, theater of the mind. I was actually thinking about this today because another time where this comes in where you think you see things that you don't see. Whenever he breaks through the door in the bedroom closet and she gets him with the clothes hanger in the eye, and then she gets him in the throat or something with the knife. You
Mhm.
hear the sounds, you think you see it, but you don't really see it. You just think you see it because you hear the sounds.
Yeah, and then your mind kind of fills in the blanks.
It does.
Yeah, which I think is great, and that's kind of what they did with the shower scene.
In
It's
Psycho,
Yeah, it's
yes.
just a bunch of edits and sound effects. Throw a little sound design in there, and
Yeah,
you're good
because
to
you
go.
think when you watch when you watch the shower scene in Psycho, you totally think you're seeing more than you're actually really seeing.
Yeah, there's even debate about that because there was a fantastic documentary about covering all of the Psycho movies where they did slow it down, and there was one shot with the retractable knife that does go into her belly. And that was like the one
I know,
cheap.
yeah, I know which one you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But other than that, all of the other cuts were all very suggestive.
yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that must have blown people away in 1960.
Oh yeah, the closest thing that I've ever gotten to experience what it must have been like in the 1960s to watch that movie was back in 2015. I went with a couple of friends. One of them who's not a fan of the Blumhouse trilogy that I mentioned earlier. We went to the Million Dollar Theater in Los Angeles, and they were doing a screening of Psycho, and it was an actual print of Psycho, like an actual film strip that they were projecting.
Yeah.
And the theater was pretty packed, and it was an old movie palace in downtown LA. And um, there were quite a few gasps and screams from people that had never seen the movie before.
Oh my goodness.
And in a huge venue like that, their voices carried through that theater. So there was a little bit of a reverb in hearing some of those reactions. And
Hmm.
seeing an actual print in an old movie palace with some genuine reactions was to us, we thought that was like the closest thing that we got to doing a little bit of time travel to see how people
Yeah.
might have reacted back then.
Okay. All right. Okay. Here's the other thing. Okay. This is where 1978 and 2018 just kind of. All right. So Loomis is at a phone booth talking about, I think he's going back to Haddonfield, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah, whatever. It says
which is near
Haddonfield
my hometown, by the way.
City of Industry, right? Is where
Yeah,
they.
yeah, it's on the border of City of Industry and I believe Walnut, and you can see the hills of Diamond Bar and a little bit of Chino Hills in the background in that scene.
And
Uh,
I've never actually been to that spot where they filmed that at the phone booth and the railroad tracks and all that, but I
it's
did look it
yeah,
up on Google Earth and it's come up a lot since then. It looks like this big, empty, vast, empty
it's completely
space.
different. The only
Yeah.
thing that remains is the train tracks, but that surrounding area, it's mostly an industrial park.
Yeah.
Um, but you would have to have somebody go with you to point out where it
Yeah.
is exactly because it's so unrecognizable. If it weren't for the train tracks, it would be unrecognizable. The bushes, the areas where they show the body, that's all gone. um
I
and yeah.
tried to use the tracks as a point of reference when I looked it up on
Mhm,
Google
mhm.
Street View, and I couldn't figure out where anything was because it's so different now.
Yeah. But sorry, I felt like I interrupted you. You were about to say something about Loomis being in the phone booth.
Yeah, so it's the next. Okay, so Michael gets away in the car. It's nighttime. It's raining. Loomis the next day is at the phone booth. On the phone, it still says Haddonfield 73 miles away or something on the
Uh,
sign.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why is Marion hanging out with Tommy and Lindsay and all of them at some bar in Haddonfield and Halloween Kills when I mean, if
Yeah.
it took him all night to get to the phone booth, Marion had to live 200 or 300 or 400 or 500 miles away. Why is she hanging around with them when she had
Yeah.
one little flimsy encounter with Michael in the car?
It's just fan service. I don't think they thought that through. I mean,
I
Lindsay
don't.
and Lonnie and Tommy, like that makes sense. But having Nurse Marion there, it is a little weird because I would have thought that she would have lived further away from Haddonfield. Um, it doesn't make sense for her to be there.
She gets there really fast the next night, though, for Halloween 2. Interesting.
Yeah, and see, there we go. That's another example. If the Blumhouse movies had acknowledged Halloween 2, it would have made more sense for Marion to be in the bar
Ooh.
with
Yeah,
the other survivors.
we're jumping from Halloween 1978 to Halloween 2018, and we're not acknowledging anything in between. But we're
Yeah.
bringing these other people back, and it makes no sense for them to still be intermingling, to me anyway. I could
Yeah.
see Lori, Michael, or Lori, Tommy, and Lindsay, but not Marion. It was just nice to have her back to see her again, but for the
Yeah.
fans' sake. But
Yeah, it's just fan
story
service.
wise, it made no sense.
Yeah. And it only makes sense if you acknowledge part two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Um,
because she's more, she comes more to life in part two than she ever was in the first
yeah,
one.
she's
Yeah,
involved in part two.
totally.
Yeah.
All right. So we got City of Industry. Oh God. Yeah, they walk home from school, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Michael in the Hedge. Linda goes off to her house, which is the same house from the opening of Mama's
Mama's
Family.
house. Yep. Mhm.
Mama Harper. I always make a joke she was living with Grandma Harper. That was that she was the yeah, she was the granddaughter who didn't make it to the sitcom. Uh and that was I'm so funny. But so okay, so you have Annie and Lori, then Annie's digging in her book bag or whatever, and then Lori sees Michael standing at the hedge, then he ducks behind.
Mhm.
Then Annie's like, "Oh, subtle, isn't he?" And then she walks over, she looks, nobody's there.
Mhm.
Lori, she pretends somebody's there. He wants to talk to you, he wants to take you out. Then you see, the little blooper of John Carpenter's cigarette smoke
Just like
go
smoked
by.
cigarette. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lori walks over. Michael's had no time to get away. In my
Mhm.
mind, maybe he's hiding inside the hedge somewhere because
Oh yeah,
he
no, yeah, he's like around that house, like maybe from like somewhere hiding somewhere in the backyard of that house. Yeah,
Yeah,
Got to
because
be
Michael's
nearby.
not a jogger or a runner, and he would have had to have
Yeah.
gotten away really fast. And
There's some really funny videos of people making parodies of like what Michael's victims don't see when their heads are turned away, and it shows Michael running from like place
Mhm.
to place. Yeah,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I always figured that's what he did anyways. But
He had to have in some of those cases, unless the hedge was really thick and he was able to hide in there. That's the only thing I can
yeah,
figure
like
out.
Homer Simpson, just like hiding up.
That's what I think about. Yeah, the whole meme of Homer Simpson backing into the hedge
Yeah.
whenever. All right, so we see Charles Cypher as Lee Brackett for the first time. And okay, here's something I also noticed. Okay, in real life, Charles Cyphers and Nancy Loomis were only 10 years apart. He was only 10 years older than her. He was playing her dad. But it never dawned on me that they were so close in age. I bought her as a teenager.
Yeah,
I bought him as like some 40 something year old guy. He was only like 39 or
30,
something.
38 or something. Yeah, and my friends were
He,
shocked when I told them that.
yeah,
He looks like he's in his 50s.
yeah. People in the 70s, they just looked older.
Yeah,
Adults.
a lot of people looked older back then. I like I remember growing up when when I was a kid, 17-year-olds looked like they were 25 to me. Like
Mhm.
people just looked older back then. And I think part of it is because nowadays we're much more aware of how to take better care of ourselves.
Think so too. Everybody smoked back then too. Everybody
Yeah, yeah.
drinking was like way more socially acceptable.
Hmm.
People didn't put on sunblock when they went out. There were things like that going on.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then even people's hairstyles made a difference about how old they looked.
Yeah, I remember seeing a meme of I think it was like the Golden Girls and the girls from Sex and the City, and like they kind of like swapped their their hairstyles, and
I've seen that too.
yeah, something like that. But yeah,
And they all
it does make a
they look
difference.
younger because their hair's different.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
Yeah. The other thing
Yeah,
about Charles Cyphers and Nancy Loomis, the only time they ever have any interaction is whenever she drives up to the drugstore.
uh-huh.
The drugstore that you pointed out to me on the tour, by the way, because I thought it was the building on the other side of the street. Then when I watch the movie now, I can so much obviously see that it's where it actually was.
Yeah,
The buildings look kind of alike, but whenever you watch it, you look at the streets, you can totally tell
yeah.
where it
Another way you
is.
can tell is the a couple of shots previous to that scene when Michael's following them in the station wagon.
Mhm.
They're on that street that has that divider that has that stone, that like historic stone monument on the center of the divider, and that's one way you can tell of
That's in South Pasadena,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
one with the divider.
yeah.
Okay.
Like right before the train station, he parks the station wagon off to the side, and
Mhm. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. This is the only time we see Charles Cyphers and Nancy Loomis together in the movie ever. They're playing father and daughter. They're only
Hmm.
10 years apart in real life. I
Yeah,
totally bought them as father and daughter, but, but, they are never. I noticed this. I had never like really paid close attention to it before. They never have a two shot together. It's always like one or the other. You don't see them together
interesting.
in the
Yeah,
same frame ever.
you're
She's in the
right.
car. He's standing in the car. He's looking in the car. He's got a close up. She's got her two shot with Lori. You never see them like in a shot together.
Yeah, yeah.
And another thing, they've been smoking pot. They drive up to the hardware store. Her dad's the
Mhm.
freaking sheriff. I was about to say, anyway, her dad's the freaking sheriff. I don't have kids. If I had kids, oh my God, they would not get away with shit. But anyway, because I know all the tricks. But he, and there's a novelization of the movie where when she
Mhm.
drives off, he's like, oh, my daughter's been smoking that wacky weed again. But he doesn't let on at all that he smells it. And in the movie, you never know that he smelled it. and he
He does
was
give a
out.
look though. He does give a look. He's like, I think it's like
Okay.
right before her line where she says, you know, and he shouts too. It's um, right after she says, he shouts too. He has this look where he's like just kind of like examining the frame of the car door, and he's, bye girls. You know, he just has like a look like I think he kind of gets like a little whiff of it, but he's like kind of doubting himself. Wait, is that weed or not? But he has that look where he's his look suggests, oh, is that weed? Or is no, that's not. Is that weed? No.
I don't even want to know about it. Just oh my,
Yeah.
just go away. I don't
Yeah.
even want
I got
to
more
know.
important things to deal with. Yeah. But
But when they're driving to the Doyle and the Wallace houses, you see the smoke again. They got the roach out of the ashtray. They light it up.
mhm.
They would have like Bud from part two, and oh my God, it's a good thing he never.
Oh yeah. They would have had
Uh,
fun with him.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he was like smoking it up right in the middle of the hospital cafeteria,
Yeah.
uh, but they're still smoking it. And I'm like, how stoned are they when they get to the babysitter houses? I mean, my God, did they walk? I think if I had some babysitter coming over to watch my kids and they had been
Oh
smoking up, I would like see their eyes and be like, hell no, I'm not leaving my
yeah.
kid
They'd
with
be
you.
fired. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although pot back then was not as strong as the stuff today. So that's also something to consider too.
Oh, it was not as strong.
It was not as strong. Well, from from what I understand from family members and extended family members and friends, that yeah, back then, yeah, the stuff nowadays is a lot stronger than
Oh, I didn't realize that.
what existed back in the 70s.
I wonder what I was getting in the 90s and the odds. Um,
Probably
okay.
what we have now. Yeah,
I want to talk about part two a little bit before we get off the call.
yeah,
Because
for
I
sure,
did
for
I
sure.
did say we were going to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, we should definitely talk about part two
Okay,
because I do
my
believe it's a
crush,
worthy sequel.
I teased the crush.
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah.
Mrs. Alves in part two at the hospital.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Gloria
Her name
Gifford.
was the actress is Gloria Giffords.
Hmm.
She's done a ton of stuff. I looked her up. She was a teacher for 6 years, I think, at the American Film Institute. Oh God, I want to say American Film Institute. I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
No, she did teach at AFI, and I
AFI.
don't know
Okay,
if
it
she
was
still has,
AFI,
yeah,
right? Am I
yeah,
right
and
about
she
that?
also had her own conservatory. I interviewed her conservatory, like I think like almost 20 years ago, when I was like kind of shopping
Oh,
around for like different acting schools. But yeah, I met her and a few times, and seemed like a very sweet lady, and
she's
very
still
nice to
doing
meet.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
She's got a ton of TV credits if you look her up on
yeah.
IMDb. I mean, yeah. Um,
Yeah, I think she still teaches too because she on her Facebook she talks about a lot about her students, how proud she is of the students that are booking things.
oh,
So
okay. All right,
yeah,
I
that's
didn't
good to
realize
know.
that.
But
Well,
yeah, yeah, she's still in it.
what I love about she's such a good actor. I mean, she's like one of the. I mean, she does a really good job in part two because what I like, there's this one scene that she's in. She's always in character. That's one thing.
Mhm.
When Dr. Mixter comes in and they're like, "Oh, he's been out drinking at the country club. He's probably drunk or whatever." She doesn't stand. She just kind of stands there and she has this look on her face that doesn't say anything. And it's like, but
Yeah,
she's obviously the in charge of all the nurses, but
yeah,
she's like, okay, when you're in that situation and you see your boss or your supervisor totally fucking up, and you're like, oh, but you can't really say anything because you don't, where your place is in the company or
right,
whatever.
right,
So
right.
you have to stand
Yeah,
there silently. You can
yeah,
totally see her doing that whole thing when they're talking about Dr. Mixture. And, he's probably breathing his booze breath all over everybody when he's trying to, give Lori
yeah.
a shot or something. But it's that, and also there's this other scene where she runs Bud and Jimmy out of the hospital room when Jimmy's talking to Lori, And then she
Mhm.
goes from like stern, like, you better get the hell out of here and let this girl get her rest. And then she goes to this
Yeah.
nice, warm bedside manner, like just like in a swift turn. She goes
Yeah.
from hard ass to like gentle, kind nurse. And that's that's not really, I mean, a lot of actors could pull that off their own way, but the way she does it, it's like I'm trying to think of it as an actor, and you know this too. It's that's not like an easy thing to do a sudden switch like that and make it look believable and have the audience buy it. That's
Yeah. Um,
yeah. I just liked watching those little things with her. And
yeah.
it's like kind of a man crush Monday or no, woman crush Wednesday. And man, I had that all screwed up. But
The,
yeah,
the the
I
the thing about
really
her is
she
that,
was like this underappreciated member of the cast, I think.
yeah, she's a part of her is really like that in real life. She is, to a certain extent, she is just like that character. She has that presence of authority that she carries with her. And in fact, I don't know if you know this, but that part was written for I think like a 60-year-old woman, a 60-year-old white woman.
Well, that's
And
the thing. And
and
I was watching it last night, and the thing I noticed about her was I was watching. I'm like, she plays it like she's older, but then when you look at her, she could be like 25 or 26
oh, for
probably.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And she doesn't look old, but
She's very stoic and very like stoic and direct. You
yeah,
know,
she makes you believe she's older even though she doesn't look old, if that makes sense.
it's not I wouldn't say older, but there's a maturity
Authoritative.
about her. Yeah, there's a maturity about her that suggests authority, that she could be a leader in certain
Yeah,
situations. Yeah,
she's
she has
definitely the
that.
leader of that bunch. Nobody in that hospital has any sense at all. Jill, the
Yeah.
blonde nurse, that kid comes in with the razor blade stuck in his mouth, and she's
Oh
like,
man.
"Oh, just go over there. They'll be with you in a minute." The kid's like freaking bleeding everywhere, and
Yeah, oh man.
the mom's like, "Are you sure? Oh my god!" And she's like, it'll be fine. Just go over there. You got a razor stuck in your mouth. Who gives a shit?" And then Bud's just a fucking loser. I mean, come on, Jimmy.
Yeah, yeah.
They very, very much established Jimmy's the good guy, Bud's the bad guy, good cop, bad cop, that whole thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the whole cafeteria scene's funny. He's sitting there, he's got like a freaking roach clip smoking this joint in the
Mhm.
middle of his workplace. Like he doesn't give a care in the world about anything, which he obviously doesn't. And then he's got he's talking, he's cursing, swearing, he offends Janet. She gets up and walks out. Anna
Mhm.
Alicia, who was awesome on my parents were Dallas and Falcon Crest people. She played a
Yeah, she's
batshit
yeah.
psycho on Falcon Crest and was awesome. She's the
Mhm.
little candy striper in this one who doesn't know how to do a two-way radio, but yeah, and she's good. Lance Guest is really good as Jimmy.
Mhm.
And okay, all right. So let's skip ahead a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Nurse Alves, Mrs. Alves meets an unfortunate, horrible death. Michael somehow knows how to drain blood out of a person. Who knew?
Mhm.
He hooks her up to some intravenous something or other. I don't know medical jargon that well. She all the blood drains out of her onto the operating room floor. Jimmy walks in, finds the body, finds the big pool of blood,
Mhm.
turns to run out, slips, falls, hits his head. Later on, when Lori's hiding in the car, Jimmy comes, gets in the car. Then he's like, I'm going to get us out of here. He's like all groggy. He's obviously
Yeah.
got a concussion,
Yeah.
worse,
Yeah. Yeah.
possibly. And then he collapses onto the steering wheel. Did Jimmy die or did Jimmy live?
I always took it as Jimmy lived. I mean, that's just the optimist in me. I want to say that he lived, and then in the television version, he does live.
Yeah, because he's in the
But
ambulance at the end.
yeah, in the television version, there's an alternate ending where he's in the ambulance with Lori, and that was actually the first version that I had ever seen. The first time I ever saw Halloween 2 was on TV as a kid, as it was the TV version. So I already knew about him living. I saw the alternate ending first without knowing
Yeah.
that it was the alternate ending. So years later, when I'm a teenager and I'm renting that movie, I'm watching, I think, well, I remember the ending being so different. Like I'm waiting for him to show
Yeah.
up and it's thing was just focused on her. So I remember a lot of, you know, the differences that I saw on TV as a kid, as opposed to the theatrical cut. But yeah, I want to believe that there was a happy ending and that he survived and that maybe he was the father of Jamie Lloyd and
That was always what I wondered. Could they have, because I saw the version where he was in the ambulance at the end, but then the version that I have in my Amazon library, she is in the ambulance by herself and he's not there anywhere. So I'm like,
yeah.
is there a version where he's dead and maybe a version where he lived? Who knows? I don't know.
See, the thing is, like, they never show him dead, and none of the authorities confirm that he's dead, which to me it gives that little wiggle room that he did survive, and then knowing that they had
Okay.
shot that alternate ending, so I'm gonna go with that he survived.
He was such a nice guy. You were wanting him to live because he
Yeah,
was such a nice guy compared to Bud, who was a total scoundrel. Hey, let's talk about the hot tub scene or the
yeah.
hydro pool therapy or whatever the
The
hell they
hydrotherapy, yeah.
hydrotherapy pool. I got it backwards.
Oh, yeah, I worked
Um,
with. Oh, go ahead.
Karen was already late for work. She's already fucked up, or she's already screwed up. Oh, she already
Yeah,
screwed up once tonight. So okay, let me go mess around with the paramedic in the hydrotherapy pool.
yeah.
And then, yeah, and
Fired.
you know this because you know more than I do. The water that they got in was actually very cold, not very
Ice
hot.
cold. Yeah.
One or both of them got an ear infection in real life from doing that scene.
Yeah, I think she got the ear infection because
She
her
was the
head
one dunked under the water. It was
being dunked
probably,
in the
you're right,
water.
it was
Yeah.
probably her.
Yeah. And that makes sense. If the water was ice cold, it would have probably disrupted her eardrum. And I don't know.
That makes
I've
sense.
that's happened to me before where when there's like a sudden rush of cold water, it messes with your ear and sometimes you get a little nauseous and dizzy and that she probably succumbed to something similar. But yeah, who knows what was in that water? Who knows how long that water had been sitting around for?
That's the
You know,
thing.
yeah, I don't think they put any cover on that pool. So
No,
yeah,
I mean they had a little bit bigger budget, but I don't think it was that much bigger. And they
no,
had they had a distributor for this one. They had Universal on their side as a distributor, but as far as
uh-huh.
when they were actually filming it, who knows? Bud goes to turn the temperature down on the water. Michael gets him. You see through the blurry glass, Michael's
Yeah,
choking out Bud.
I
Bud
love that
total.
shot, by the way.
That was today they would just like go for all the guts and the gore and the blood and all
Yeah,
and the neck snapping and all that stuff. But they did it was very it was very artistically done, even though it was a little
yeah, no, it was
gruesome.
very theatrical. Yeah, just the way how the light, the beams of light would kind of like pierce through, under
Yeah,
their armpits and shoulders and whatnot, and yeah, yeah, it was really really well done. Well, and Dean Cundy, who was the cinematographer on the original movie, he came back to do the second one, and that's one of the things that I liked about part two is that it almost feels it almost feels like it's one movie. It doesn't feel so much like a sequel. It almost feels like a continuation of the first one. It's almost the transition is almost seamless. And I
yeah,
think it's because those first two movies were shot just a few years apart, so close together. So, a lot of the actors still look relatively the same. It's a lot of the
right.
same crew. It's a
Mhm.
lot of the same cast. It's a lot of the same locations. It's a lot of the same, kind of film stock, the same filming techniques. So it really does feel like it's part of the first movie.
Michael kills Bud, comes back in. Karen's getting ready to leave. She's like, we shouldn't do this. I need to get back to work, blah, blah, blah. Oh, but I'm so dead, like all over his hand. Like,
Yeah.
Michael's been through some stuff in part one and this when he's been shot a few times, he's been stabbed, his hands are probably way dirty. Michael wasn't washing his hands at the Myers house. Michael's probably got body odor for days.
Oh, for
Oh
sure.
my God, it's like, come on. How do you, and then she doesn't realize it's him until she looks up. Oh gosh, I have
I
problems with
mean,
that one, that part too. But that, oh my God, that's got to be one of the most gruesome kills in the whole series.
yeah, yeah.
That
And
that freaked me out when I was a kid. It still freaks me out as an adult. I gotta get Pamela Susan Shoop. I gotta give her props because I was watching a documentary about this. She did not want to do that nude scene. They had to talk her into it. And
yeah,
that
which is
was
unfortunate.
before, obviously decades before Me Too and all that stuff. But I don't think that would fly on a movie set today.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You can't.
Um,
They had to like coax her into it. It's like if an actress says she doesn't want to like get naked, just honor her request and find a way around it.
yeah,
They had to like talk her into it. That felt kind of
yeah.
sleazy, but it was a
Oh,
different time.
100%.
I'm not going to judge people. It was a different time. I'm not saying it's right, but yeah. And
But the way how they went about it was sneaky, which is not cool. Like, it's one thing if, it's an actress on a Roger Corman movie that is willing to bear all, because, sex sells. But when someone is coerced into doing a nude scene, like,
yeah,
and like now knowing that, it's uncomfortable.
it makes it a
Uh,
little icky and slimy.
yeah, it's like, who are these people behind the camera that were calling the shots? And I
Yeah.
think I, I think Deborah Hill was on her, obviously I think Deborah Hill was on her side and trying to make sure that it was a closed set, but I don't know what happened. I guess like she was overruled, and um I think Rick Rosenthal, the director, was like kind of caught in he was kind of in the middle of it. And I think well, it might be the Mandela effect, but I believe he told her, if we'll take off our clothes if you do this nude scene. And so I think like some of the crew did take off, strip down at least to their
Oh, I
underwear.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, to make her feel more comfortable, to make her feel more at ease. Which,
That would make me
if
feel
that's
less at ease. But
yeah,
I'm not a
I
woman,
don't
so I don't know. I can't get into the psyche there. I don't know how
yeah.
that made her feel, but that that would
And like you
that
said,
would
it's a
make it
different
more
time too.
awkward to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. If you're a girl and if it's a room of only men that are stripping down in front of you, it doesn't feel like it's safe.
That's yeah, that doesn't even that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
That's
But
the
I
only
could be
thing I don't
wrong.
like
I
about
could
this.
be remembering the story differently. So I'll take accountability if I get any of that information wrong. I stand to be corrected.
Never seen an interview with her. Have you seen an interview with her about this?
She was interviewed, I think, on the the edition that was put out by Scream Factory for part two. And I think she was also interviewed on the DVD for 25 Years of Terror, the one that they did about the first convention, the first time that they did the convention. I think
Yeah.
she was interviewed for that one. Um, but yeah, it's fun. I had worked with an actor in a play back in 2009, and this guy was very much devoted to his wife. They stayed together until he had passed away. Was with his wife for years, but He was he was quite a character. One afternoon he was at the theater helping build a set, and I overhear him talking to another gentleman that he used to date, Pamela Susan Shoop. It didn't last very long, but I don't know. I think he was just like bragging about it, and I had asked him, so, oh, so is that really true that you guys dated? Yeah, yeah, it was way before I met so and so, and it was just like a few dates. Um, I don't know where I was going with that, but uh,
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, it's a
thought
small
thought
world.
you like to
He
know
has a
there's
little
some
one
connections
degree
too.
connection.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
let's see. We're gonna have to wrap this up soon, but
yeah.
all right. Let's. Okay, we. Is there anything
Any
about
last
how
questions?
the first movie you would like to talk about before we talk a little bit more about Halloween 2?
This one thing that is very interesting about the first two movies. There's a sentimentality about those first two movies that it's really difficult to pinpoint what it is exactly. The first movie came out in 1978, and then the second movie came out in 1981. And my parents got married in 1978, and then they had me in 1981. And those first two movies were shot, in close proximity to the areas that I've spent the first 6 years of my life. So there's like some unseen connection that I have to those first two movies that I can't really pinpoint what it is exactly, but it's there's something about the knowing that's kind of ingrained into my uh I guess you could say my upbringing, like knowing
Yeah,
that.
well, I mean, it's
Yeah. And then moving
that
to Chino, yeah, then moving to Chino and then finding out that they shot a scene in the next town over where he finds the matches and the dead body of the mechanic. And then they shot the town scenes for Halloween H2O in La Puente, which was not too far from Walnut. And around that time, I was taking some classes at Mount San Antonio College. So a lot of the times after I took classes, I would visit that area of where they filmed H2O, and they still had some of the props of the signs that they had for the fictional city of Summer Glen. There
okay.
used to be a costume shop in La Puente called Francisco's, and they still had the sign that said Summer Glen costume shop that they had kept
That's cool.
for like about 5 years since they shot the movie. But yeah, it's kind of weird knowing that those some of those movies were shot so close to home.
That's really cool though, to have that as part of your upbringing. And then I didn't know that
Yeah,
whole thing about the correlation of the years with your parents and then when you were born and all that. That's cool too.
yeah. Same thing with the first two Christopher Reeve Superman movies. The first one came out in '78, and then Superman 2 came out here in the United States. It came out in 1981, and according to them, uh, that was the first movie that they ever took me to. Was at the drive-in. They couldn't find a babysitter, so they had me in the back seat, and they went to a drive-in. They went to go see a double feature of David Lynch's The Elephant Man and Superman 2. So that was, you know, and I think, somewhere in between those two movies is when they decided to name me Christopher. So I don't know. That's the story that I hear.
Okay, we're totally going to Superman right now, but let me tell you,
That could be
the
another
first
one.
movie I ever went to see in the theater that I remember, I was only 3 years old. I was born in 1975, but Superman, the movie, 1978. My
Wow.
parents, for some reason, could not find a babysitter. And my
Uh-huh.
brother was only like a year old. I think I was three. Yeah, 1978, it would have been. Yeah, he was one, I was three. Oh my gosh. The other people in the theater must have just loved this. They brought, yeah, a couple bringing a baby and a small child.
Mhm.
People were waiting to see this movie, had been
Yeah.
talking about it all week. oh my God, I'm gonna go see Superman. Then you got somebody comes. My dad had to take my brother out because he wouldn't stop crying. And
Oh no.
I'm like, oh my gosh, we must have ruined that movie for so many
Oh
people. But yeah, I do have not a big memory, but I do have flashes of
yeah.
being in the
Yeah.
theater to see that. And then funny, while we're on this topic about parents not being able to find babysitters and taking you to the movies, I don't remember where my brother was the next time this happened, but I only remember it being me and my parents. I don't remember anybody else being there. They, I guess they, for some reason, I'm with my parents and they take me to the theater when they go see Urban Cowboy with Deborah
John
Winger and John Travolta.
John Travolta. Yeah, yeah,
I saw that in the theater when I was 4 or 5 years old. And
yeah.
that's not a movie to take a kid to.
Yeah, no, no, no.
I don't
Yeah, yeah.
understand why I was there with them unless they couldn't find a babysitter. I had all my
Yeah.
grandparents back then. I don't know what was going on, but they took me to that. I never saw any of the Halloween movies in the theater until Halloween 5.
Oh, you got to see that one when it first came out?
I saw it in the theater. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Halloween
Yeah,
5, 1989. I was a freshman in high school. I
that's
went
cool.
with I went with my two uncles who weren't that much older than me. In my family, it was weird. My mom was the oldest of five kids, so
Mhm.
my youngest uncles were. I had one uncle I was in high school with. He was only 3 years
Okay.
older than me. He was a senior when I was a freshman, and then I had another uncle who's since passed. He was only 9 years older than me, I think. Yeah,
Mhm.
I went with them. My brother and I went with them to go see Halloween 5 in 1989
Wow.
at Cinema 3
Uh,
in Monroe, Louisiana. I still remember it. It's not there anymore, but I still remember it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wild. Yeah. Yeah, some of my best movie going experiences involved the Halloween movies. The first Halloween movie that I saw in the theaters was Halloween 6. And I remember it was a packed theater. And it's my second rated R movie that I get to go as a 15-year-old, and I'm bringing a female friend with me, and I'm going with my brother. It's a whole group of people, and the
So it
crowd
was
was
kind of
just
like a
wild.
chaperone date then. You kind of got it to go on a date, but you had to, was that what it was like?
It
Or
wasn't, no, it wasn't a date. My parents didn't go. They dropped us off, and we would meet up with our other friends, and we all went in together. And it was so cool because on one end I had my two female friends sitting next to me, and then right next to on the other side was this like um, hair metal guy, uh, long hair, who's like a walking and just like me, a walking encyclopedia of all things Halloween. Who's like he was
cool.
really digging the movie, and he was like throwing trivia questions at all of us because he was happy that these younger people seen this movie, and everybody was cheering when the asshole dad got electrocuted,
Oh yeah.
and there were so many screams in the movie theater, mostly from people bringing their dates. um but yeah, that one, and seeing H2O when it first came out in
I saw
theaters.
H2O in the theater.
Yeah, that was a really fun one to see when it first came out. Same thing again, theater was packed. People were cheering when she lopped off his head. They were cheering when she
Yes.
screamed out Michael. It was good. It was a good time.
Let me tell you about my H2O theater experience.
Yeah, go for it.
I was okay. I don't like, now I don't mind. Back then I did mind. I, I didn't like to go to the movies unless I could go with people.
Yeah,
I thought it
yeah.
was weird to go to the movies by myself. I don't think it's
Uh-huh.
weird at all now, but I thought it was then.
Now it's yeah. Uh, yeah.
But I went by myself because I had nobody to go with. And well, I had somebody to go with, but they were working. But I was so excited that I just went to see it by myself. And I was with somebody at the time, and they weren't like really into
Mhm.
it. So I waited until they were at work, and I just went by myself to watch it. And oh God, I'm so excited, and I'm sitting there, And there's this guy in the theater who's already seen the movie. He's like, oh, the best part of the movie is when she chops his head off at the end.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, please tell me he's just joking to get a rise out of us
Yeah.
because none of us have seen it. And then I'm sitting there like through half the movie. Please tell me she's not going to chop his head off at the end. Please tell me that guy was wrong. Please tell me he didn't spoil the whole goddamn movie. And then sure enough, oh my
Yeah.
fucking God. Yeah, sure enough, yeah, he spoiled the movie. And I liked the movie. I liked H2. Oh, I can't talk.
Yeah.
I got off work at 6 tonight. I got to be back at 3 a.m. It's going to be really fun tomorrow. They're going to love me. But
Yeah. Oh.
anywho, uh, so I liked H2O whenever it came out, but now I just don't like it. There's something about 90s movies that just, I don't know. But I feel like now it's like Dawson's Creek meets
Yes.
Michael Myers.
Yeah.
It has
It
that
doesn't
whole vibe to
feel.
it. I can't watch it
Yeah.
anymore. And then
It doesn't feel.
Resurrection ruined it. Ruined
Oh
it.
my God. Yeah. 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 Resurrection is like just took a shit
I've
on the
never been
movie.
able to watch Resurrection all the way through. I'll be
Yeah.
honest.
I think that's the one that I
one
watched the least. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's the one that I watched the least. H2O, I think the hype around H2O was fun.
Yes.
It was fun to experience that hype. Looking back on it now, it almost feels out of place as a Halloween movie. It doesn't feel like a Halloween movie. It kind of plays it safe. Even though there's some issues that I have with the story of part six, part six has a pretty sinister vibe to it. It's for all intents and purposes, it's a pretty dark movie. And H2O, there's a sense of edge that is missing from it that 4, 5, and 6 have that H2O doesn't have. I don't know
H2O's
if that
got too
makes
much of that. It's got too much of that cutesy factor going on. Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, and then
yeah.
Was
And
Joshua is Joshua Jackson was am I thinking he wasn't it?
no, it was Josh Hartnett was in H2O. Joshua Jackson was in Urban Legends. But you're right.
And Killing Miss Tingle or whatever that was.
Yeah,
He wasn't in it.
yeah.
For
Same
some reason
same writer.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's the same
Kevin
writer.
Williamson.
And yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned the whole like young attractive cast, because I remember that was one of the selling points behind the VHS of that movie.
Yeah.
It said, I remember in the back of the VHS it said something like to the effect of featuring a hot like a hip young cool cast of characters, including Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams of TV's Dawson's Creek. And yeah, they really capitalized on the fact that they had like a new ensemble of fresh young faces that
Yeah.
and
I
this
liked
was
them
during
at the
this
actors,
yeah, this was during the Weinstein days of Miramax and Dimension Films.
and we know how that turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Harvey and cute young people. Ugh, God.
Yeah.
All right.
Talk about sleaze fest.
Yeah.
Sir, are there any questions that you have regarding the last act of Halloween or anything regarding Halloween 2 that we didn't touch upon?
No. And the reason I really wanted the Facebook Live to work is because I really wanted other people to be able to weigh in and like,
Yeah.
We could have seen their comments. We could have been like, oh yeah,
we could have asked questions. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I hate about this, because nobody else gets to interact with us about anything. Yeah. But I think we kind of did all right. I I think you could make a drinking game out of the number of times I've said yeah in this whole thing, but yeah. That's funny.
I think maybe something to consider in the future is maybe doing a live stream on YouTube, because then you can have people chime in for the live chat.
I know. And I thought that was one of the ideas that popped into my head when we were trying to figure out everything earlier. And I thought I didn't put enough preparation into backup plans for this. Thank you so much for doing this, and good luck
Yeah,
with your tour. I
thank you.
don't know what my work schedule's like off the top of my head, but I will try to come on one of your tours again soon.
For sure, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
and I
it'd be great to have you again.
definitely, I've only been inside the Sugar Mint Gallery one time. I really want to go back in there and look around, maybe buy something.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely should.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Well,
Cool.
thank you so much for doing this. And
Yeah, Kurt, thank you for asking me
oh,
to do it.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. I knew you were the walking encyclopedia of Halloween knowledge, and I'll think of like 10,000 things we could have talked about that I forgot about after we're off the call. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, you have a good night, and I will
It's
talk
always
to you
fun to
later.
talk about all things Halloween. So
Yes, yes. Have fun this weekend on your
you
tours.
too, man.
All right.
Hope the editing goes well.
All right. Thank
All
you. I'll
right.
talk to you later.
Yeah,
Bye
have a good
bye.
night.
You too. Bye.